Hey, this is PT, and I want you to check this out. Last week we talked about Paul and Barnabas on their missionary journey. And a lot of stuff to go over in there, but I just picked one thing that just really popped out at me. It's in Acts chapter 14. I'll read 15 through 17 quickly here. It says, "Men, why are you doing this?" Well, let me tell you the background. What they were doing is Paul and Barnabas healed this guy, and so then they started want to sacrifice him like they were Greek gods that have come down from the heavens, okay? So, they're bringing wreaths in a bowl, and it's not a good situation. So Paul and Barnabas, saw what was happening, tore their clothes, and that's where we pick up the story. "Men, why are you doing these things? We are also men of like nature with you, and we bring you good news that you should turn away from these vain things to a living God who made all the heaven and the earth and the sea and all that is within them. In past generations, he allowed all the nations to walk in their own ways. Yet he did not leave himself without a witness. For he did good by giving you rains from heaven and fruitful seasons, satisfying your hearts with food and gladness." So, Paul's response when they tried to make him a rock star, back then it would have been like rock star, celebrity status, right? We'll just put it in today. He said, okay, it was a little more than that, okay, I get you. But he said, listen, this is what we're doing. We're bringing good news. Turn away from all the stupid stuff, like believing that there's these gods, Hermes and Zeus and all the rest of them that are the gods of this and the gods of that, because the Greeks had gods for like everything, And they said, stop believing in these things and what? Start believing in the living God. In other words, turn away from something and turn to something. I think the church is pretty good at telling people to turn away from things, but we're not very good at turning to things. It's like an equation. It's like XY times, there's no other equation, right? I mean, that's not a full equation. And it's not a full gospel message until you tell people to turn to God, because he's the good news. This is the good news that we're talking about here. So he tells them to turn, and he turned to a living God, by the way, who made everything. All these other Greek gods, they didn't make this. The living God, living, not dead, living God made everything. And then they go on to say, very interesting, that he gave free will to men. In other words, he allowed you to come up with all of these thoughts and stories about all of these gods to everything. He allowed you to come up and go your own way and sacrifice to him and have temples to him and all the other stuff they did in Greek. And look, every society from back then to now, God just said, you can do what you want. I'm going to give you free will. And it's ours to say, turn away from all that stupid stuff and serve the living God. He created everything. And he said, God is still seen. Even though he let you believe all of these other things, he let you believe all these other gods, he let you believe in all of these other philosophies and theories, no gods at all, not sure whether there's a God or not, all the different religions, this is what he said. He's still seen, and he is still seen. He still has a testimony, and he's still fundamentally good. How do we know that? Paul says, look, he sends things out of heaven. He sends things out of heaven that brings a benefit to other people. So God in heaven is sending things to us that are really good. Those things are really, really good. Life is hard. Things go bad. But God sends good things. He sends good things. James chapter 1, verse 17, every good gift and every perfect gift is from above, coming down from the Father of lights, whom there is no variation or no shadow due to a change. So, in other words, God doesn't change. He's always good. God is good all the time, and all the time, yeah, you know it, God is good. But he is good. He is good. And we have to see that the things that came from heaven, the earth, look at the earth. You think, oh yeah, climate change, glaciers are melting, pollution, plastics, and things like, no. Just look at the earth. Look at the Alps. Look at the desert. Look at the cactus that blooms in the spring. Look at, we were golfing the other day. We saw this bird. I've never seen a bird this color. It was just beautiful. And it was getting stuff, or I don't know what it was doing. I don't know what birds do. But it was just beautiful to look at. That God gave that to me to look at. So James says it. Paul says it because God is it. And I want you to notice something here. God didn't just give the good gifts to Christians. He gave it to everybody. It's kind of like we hog all the good gifts in the church. It's like, oh yeah, all these gifts that we have, we lay hands on people and pray for them, and they get healed, and we have compassion, and we have counseling, and we do all this kind of stuff, that are really wonderful things, right? We give people good godly counsel. Well, that's great. God's good gifts are for everybody. Everybody. So maybe the stuff the church is doing, we had to take it outside the walls. All the stuff that the church is doing, we should take it outside the walls. It says here that he gives rain, and the earth, his gift, brings forth the fruit. So he's bringing rain, and he's producing the fruit because he created the earth to do just that. He satisfies our bodies with nourishment. The word food there, from the health guy, if I could just stop here for a second, was nourishment. All that nonsense stuff that really isn't food? You think, no, that's surely a gift from heaven. Really? Not going to go there. I'm just saying that the food that comes from the earth is the gift from heaven. That's what it says in the Bible, right here. So he satisfies our bodies with nourishment, because when it comes from the ground or trees or bushes, it nourishes our body. The nourishment, and brings joy to our hearts. In other words, we have this state of gladness, and that's from God. So even gladness, happiness, joy, that's a gift from God. And it's not just a gift to the people who know God. It's a gift to the people who don't know, who don't acknowledge, who don't believe at all. God still brings goodness on them, like joy and gladness. I don't know about you, but that whole humor, laughing, happy thing, yeah, I like that. That's a really, really good gift. I like that gift running wild in my household. And I think you do. See, he gives it to us, so he gives it to us to show us what he's really like. A lot of people have said a lot of things about what God is like. I would just like to say this. For sure, this is what I know. He's so good. Man, he's so good. And when you think life is good because just love, you're at peace, you're looking at the stars in the heavens, you're eating a scrumptious piece of fruit or something. Yeah, that's from God. And he wants you to go, God, you are so incredibly good. Well, I wanted you to check this out because I think it's important that we major on the goodness of God in our era to our culture. And let's be heralds of the good news that God is good, period. End of story, right? Hope you enjoyed this. This is PT, and I wanted you to check this out.